Just how important are acoustics to you in a knife? I'm genuinely curious. How's it going, everybody? I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And whether you think they're awesome or whether or not it even remotely matters, head on down to the comments section. Let me know. I'm really curious to see what people have to say. While you're down there, if you could, give the like button a little tappy tap. I definitely appreciate it. Today, we're talking about the TwoSun TS186, also known as the Kingfisher. You heard that correct. It's actually a TwoSun that actually has a name. And when I saw that name on White Mountain Knives, which is where this is from, shout out to White Mountain Knives, by the way. When I saw it on their website and I saw that it had a name and not just a model number, I knew they wouldn't do that if it wasn't really good. And then I saw the price tag. And why do you do this to me, TwoSun? Alrighty, let's talk shop on this TwoSun TS186, also known as the TwoSun Kingfisher. Something that I've noticed with TwoSun knives, however, is that they go from available to not available very quickly on the models that are done really well. So if you're interested in it, you might want to check it out sooner rather than later, because these do not tend to stick around. First and foremost, this knife costs $121, and what does your hard-earned dollars get you, you might ask? Well, it's got titanium handle scales with a shredded carbon fiber inlay, it's a frame lock, and it has a milled titanium pocket clip, milled titanium backspacer, running on bearings, and a single-sided captive pivot. The blade is M390, and it has this really nice deployment hole right there. Following up on that, the spine of the blade itself is crowned, and you do get a cursory amount of jimping here at the top, which lines up pretty well with your forefinger. So at the $121 price point, TwoSun's doing it again. They're doing that thing where they make me wonder, what exactly is wrong with it? I mean, we've got the premium materials, we've got, you know, the swanky blade shape with the cool deployment hole. I mean, it even makes a really cool sound. Check this out. It sounds really cool. And here I am at the zenith of my knife collecting, and I never thought that I would actually care about how a knife sounds. Who knew ASMR/acoustics would actually be a thing, but there we are. And by the way, let me know in the comments section down below if acoustics are something that you care about on your folding knife. Let's talk a little bit about the detent. So being a front flipper, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of detent. And on this one, the detent is definitely there, but it's not super strong. It's not a very strong detent, but that's okay because it makes for really easy, effortless deployment. It doesn't take a whole lot to take advantage of those bearings and get it over the detent ball. So that's actually nice. I do actually enjoy this single-sided captive pivot and the fact that the hardware is very minimalized. For example, it's all T8 and you don't have very many body screws. You have the pivot, these two screws right here on the lock bar, which are actually cut out really nicely from that shredded carbon fiber, and the inlays themselves are really well done. I'm not seeing any gaps between the inlay and the titanium scales, and the shift and the shine on that shredded carbon fiber is just really good. On the blade, we're seeing a nice belt satin finish, and you also get the TwoSun logo on one side and the Mazwan Mokhtar with the TS186 and M390 on the other side. Now, I do wish that they would take that TwoSun logo, just that center guy right there, and put it here on the pivot. And then you can leave part of the blade sterile at least. I'm okay with the Mazwan Mokhtar design on the other side. It is what it is, but leave the show side clean and sterile. That is one of my very few complaints, and it's a very minimal complaint, definitely not a deal breaker. As far as the ergonomics are concerned, the handle scales are nicely chamfered and rounded out, and in the hand, it feels great. Your thumb does kind of overshoot that jimping, but that's fine because it lands on this crown spine, which makes it very comfortable. It doesn't have a finger cutout, so to speak, but it does have a bit of a finger landing where it's just ever so slightly cut out there, so you can get a nice grip right just like that. Let's talk a little bit about some specs, shall we? Overall, we're looking at a length of about 8 inches, maybe a hair shy of that. The blade length itself is about 3 1/4, which is going to make the handle scales about 4 1/4. And so yeah, pretty good. Let's do some comparisons. Up against the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and up against the Spyderco Paramilitary 3. As you can see, it's a lot closer to the PM2 and quite a bit longer than the Para 3. That actually makes the Para 3 look pretty short. We'll go ahead and get this guy out of there. How about up against a Demco AD20.5? Again, a bit longer than the AD20.5. The blade profile is going to be very similar though, as far as blade width is concerned. Let's go ahead and do a carry profile comparison in the pocket. As you can see, it's much thicker than the PM2, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you get this beefy backspacer right there. But I'm not actually very mad at that because it means that it feels confident in the hand. You know, there's no over gripping on the knife whatsoever. You can go ahead and switch up the grip. Ice pick grip feels good. There is a pretty deep cutout right there, but it's not really going to get in the way of doing any draw cuts. With this drop point blade, I guess I'm going to call it a drop point. Yeah, you know what? It'll cut some logos, some stickers, some packages, no problem. M390 being a super steel, I'm really happy with this material composition at the $121 price point. I think that it's an absolute banger. The backspacer could be a little bit longer, but I'm not mad about that. It still does an adequate job of, you know, protecting the blade from things in your pocket, and the weight could have been reduced by some skeletonizing on the inside of those handle skills, which is not. Speaking of weight, let's go ahead and ask Jenny Craig how much it weighs. Here's our faithful scale Jenny, aka the scale of truth. And survey says it weighs 4.41 ounces, so just shy of 4.5. It is a little bit on the heavier side, and the knife would have felt extremely balanced and a bit lighter had they done a tiny bit of skeletonizing to really optimize this handle. Overall, for $121, I think that this is a steal. And if you're on the fence about it, I would go ahead and pick it up. If you're going to buy one, check out White Mountain Knives. That's where I found this one. And make sure to use my discount code. I'll pop it up on the screen. RSB10 for 10% off on White Mountain Knives. I don't get anything when you use that, but it does help you save some money. And with groceries and gas costing what it costs these days, we could all save a little more money. But guys, let me know, do you like this knife? Are you going to consider picking one up? Or is there another knife that's caught your eye? If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, boo-hoo, there's a button for you too. And if you want to see the Grail or Garbage ranking, where I put this knife up on our public leaderboard and rank it against some of the best, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Rollshambo. I'll catch you on the flip side.